Welcome to Multifamily Grit, where we bring in the experts to share their stories of the celebrations and struggles of one of the most important industries in the U.S., multifamily property management. Kerri sat down with Chris Clemons, an affordable housing professional with nearly 18 years of experience across property management and affordable housing. Throughout his career, Chris has built a reputation as a collaborative leader focused on operational excellence, compliance, education, and service. Today, he plays a key role in helping teams navigate the evolving affordable housing landscape while creating stronger processes, stronger communities, and better outcomes for residents and clients alike. Chris's story is rooted in purpose and a deep commitment to service. Driven by a passion for connecting people with a place to call home, he has spent nearly 2 decades helping residents, site teams, and stakeholders succeed. Whether he's simplifying complex compliance requirements, supporting on-site teams, or educating residents and staff, Chris believes the work is about much more than policies and procedures. It's about the families, seniors, and individuals whose lives are directly impacted by affordable housing programs. Today, we dive into what excites Chris most about the future of affordable housing. From leading cross-department collaboration and streamlining operations to preparing organizations for HOTMA, implementation and evolving compliance requirements, Chris thrives when the pressure is on. We'll explore his passion for education, why he believes there are no toes to step on when teams communicate openly, how he works to bridge the gap between corporate and on-site teams, and why technology and AI have the potential to help the industry think more strategically about the future. Most importantly, we'll discuss the human side of affordable housing and the families who remind him every day why this work matters. Before we get started, this episode is sponsored by Fortress, the only core property management operating system built with an emphasis for affordable owners and operators. Fortress revolutionizes affordable management with features focused on automating housing assistance charges and payments to keep ledgers clean and accurate, centralizing file reviews and document storage through Fortress and AWS, and a free in-system smart waitlist to ensure your property stays in compliance. And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you think would enjoy this episode. Now let's get into it. Here's Kerri Davis sitting down with Chris Clemons for a conversation about affordable housing, operational excellence, team collaboration, and the people who make this work matter most. So, Chris, thank you so much for being here on the podcast with me today.
I'm excited. Yeah, thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, of course. And, before we kick off what I'm sure is going to be an incredible conversation, given your background and your experience, I'd love it if you would just take a minute to share with our listeners how you got your start in the multifamily industry.
Yeah, wasn't something that I kind of thought of as a young kid, but you know what? Our paths are not always that way. But about 2 decades ago, almost now, I was helping a struggling family during the Great Recession around 2008, and I connected with them with a property that had recently been built in South LA area. Surprisingly enough, the property had an open waiting list and units that were available, and the family went through the process from applicant to approved applicant to resident, and in about 3 months or so, and a mother with her 3 children was able to find a home, affordable housing, when she really needed it. And that's something that really planted a seed in me of something new that I could serve others and just be a part of a process that was really needed. And how I fit myself into it as years to come was just looking for those opportunities that really, sprung up out of nowhere sometimes, but really filled a need and gave me purpose and helped me to see, there's a need. How can I, help others and just bring purpose into others' lives as well as see my purpose, as serving others.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great story. So, you mentioned that family and like helping that mom find housing. Did you immediately from there like move into affordable housing?
You know what? I did start exploring how to get into the business after I saw that was an opportunity, and a company was really needing to get some more information on this new PMS that they were trying, and I learned the PMS really quickly, and was able to, show the company that property management software that they were pioneering for the whole company. And through that process, I started in the site level teaching and training on that software, and then worked with the corporate office in the compliance part, and then just started learning how to educate our customers, and
Mm,
the human aspect of, like, just this is why you're in affordable housing and how it works, so you can stay in affordable housing as long as you need to, and making sure that it wasn't disconnected from the software to the company to the people we were serving. That was something that I was really intentional at the very beginning.
that's really interesting. I love that concept of like educating your customers and making sure that they understand like how what affordable housing even is, like how it works and how they stay there as long as they need. I think that's such a unique spin on the industry or a unique take on like how to manage the industry. Is that something that you still do today?
It is. I get the privilege to work with individuals who are open minded. Our product management and our legal teams that we work with are constantly asking questions that we're trying to figure out how to have a good forecast of the future. And I think collaborating together, not just in our own worlds, but like talking, how could this affect us? How could this affect our residents, or our teams as a whole? Has really been, that opportunity to train and bring more people in and explore different ideas that's going to make us better, as well as make this process, you know, not a scary thing, but
Yeah.
a collective and collaborative thing.
Yeah. And, I think that's such a great outlook on it, especially because today, like, it seems like there's a struggle to find enough people who understand how affordable housing works. And a lot of times it's really difficult on our side to train new team members on how it works quickly enough for the demand that we have on the site level. How do you agree, disagree with that? How are you seeing that side of the world?
I think that it's a it's a special place, the affordable housing. I think getting the individuals who are looking for serving other people, and really fitting a need bigger than just somebody having a roof over the head. Those individuals who are families that are maybe broken families, or older families that really need housing, and quality housing as well. That complex situation of, we're not just, a business, but we're really working together to see the human side, and care for these individuals long after they just moved in, too, not just to getting them in, but caring for them, as our biggest asset,
Yeah.
not our buildings, not our softwares, but the individual that's there. And I think as we train and we show that bigger picture, we're finding those individuals, through the process, who care more than just the numbers. And I've really been able to partner with some good individuals over the years, and even now, just to see, the desire, that brings crossing cultures. I think that's what I've, really learned is key.
What does that mean to you exactly? What do you mean by crossing cultures?
I think there's so much different cultures within, uh, management and in life, that we tend to get nervous about what somebody else their experience may be, and not ever have a conversation with them about that experience, and speaking, a language that may be foreign to us because of maybe somebody's background or maybe their experience. But delving, like, crossing that culture is delving into it in an appropriate, in a caring way, in a way that's open-minded, and not just looking at numbers, or looking at buildings, or looking at, the physical aspect, but looking at the human aspect of those people that have a different culture, have a different background, have a different experience. We have to cross culture, uh, you know, change our lens, and really look at what that means for us individually, but also, collectively, as companies and businesses.
Yeah. That's
such a unique way of looking at it. I really like it. And I think that, it's one thing to realize that like dealing with a human, not the number, but it's a whole nother, I think, next step to say that you are like not just seeing them as a human, but also like accepting everything that comes along with that and acknowledging it, and embracing it even. I think that's incredibly smart. So you mentioned this in your intro and in describing like how you fell into the multifamily industry, that you've been doing this for almost 2 decades now, and that you're where your passion came from. And I think you've talked a lot about like, you know, what has kept you really passionate about this industry, like all the people, but obviously as a part of our industry, and obviously the title of this podcast, it takes a lot of still like grit and intensity to deal with like the pressure that comes along with like multifamily housing and handling all these affordable assets. So but that's something that you shared with me, that you love, that you really like the pressure and you tend to thrive in pressure. Where does that come from?
I think it comes just from my upbringing on how life hasn't always been handed to me easy. Uh, Situations have been not my regular day to day. I think challenges are what made me who I am, and who I know that everybody falls in challenges. I think everybody has their own challenge in life, and I think some embrace and some choose to push it away. And for me, growing up, like the challenges in life continue to build my character. And I think character growth and building our character is something that we don't think about enough. Those challenges are the ones that take us to through sometimes different routes in life, are the best experiences that we've had. So I think seeing my dad at a young age kind of go through some challenges, health challenges in life, um, as a young child, thinking this isn't how I ever envisioned things, kind of reminded me that everybody has their own thing going on that they're challenged with, and how can I press through? How can I give some some of my experience of pressing through to other individuals and helping them to see the bigger picture of where we can we're in this as a team. We're in this together. And if we can think about that, like that that nobody really needs to be alone, and what kind of support does that mean that we could give to that individual to help them through that moment in time.
Yeah, I think that's such a wonderful thought, right? Saying that like everyone has their own thing going on. I don't know if you've ever seen that Chick-fil-A video on YouTube, where like Chick-fil-A used to always, I don't know if they still do it, but where they had all their new team members watch this video, and it is like the most heart-wrenching video ever, where it shows customers, Chick-fil-A customers, like coming into the restaurant and ordering food and sitting down to eat, and like, and it has all these like bubbles over their head, like of experiences that they're going through, rough ones, and making the point that like the Chick-fil-A team should always consider it like an opportunity to serve people and to help them through difficult times, and to like be a positive force in their life no matter what's going on with people. And so I always think about that, because I think multifamily, like Chick-fil-A is one thing. Like it's one thing to do that, like when someone comes in for lunch, but like to do that in someone's home is so incredibly impactful.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. This experiences that I've had throughout the years, it's probably write a book, but I can just think of when I was working in Los Angeles area, meeting with some senior residents, and all they wanted was for you to come in their home and to try their Korean dish or something that they had, and it meant the world to them because somebody was is there caring about them, willing to learn something about them and enjoy their world, apart from just asking for them to sign documents, apart from them just collecting their rent, apart from making sure that their apartment was clean, all the least things that we need to do, all the policies we need to make sure they're following, but just caring for them as an individual, saying to them, your culture is beautiful to me. I appreciate you as an individual, and I'm here in case you need me, is the one of the biggest rewards that you can really take out of this type of an experience, and a job that goes much beyond a job. It goes into, a way of life, a purposeful living, purposeful career.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm a very philanthropic human. I mean, I joined the military while I was in law school. Like, I thought that's where I wanted my career to lead. But I agree with you. Like, I feel like, you know, but everyone has to have their purpose. And I think for some people, like, purpose is serving, right? And those are like your teachers, and a lot of like your teachers and your police officers and your firefighters. And I think affordable housing easily falls into that bucket for a lot of us, or like this service driven life, which I think is incredible. So we've talked a lot about like the philosophy of and like the feelings behind affordable housing and the culture of it. But you specifically sit in a very like tactical seat today, a very operational tactical seat today. So tell me a little bit about what it is that you do today. What do you focus on?
I'm mainly focused to keep our company and our team members in alignment with what our regulations that trickle down to be, are the changes in the state and the federal policies that seem to change on a whim a lot of times, but we don't we don't try to stay behind the curve. I'm trying to keep my team ahead of the curve when it comes to new updates with HOTMA, or their state program regulations, and the fair housing rules that we have to make sure we don't step over. And my team members are trained on how to be humans at their job, not just calculators at their job,
Hmm.
but also just to make sure I'm working with my different departments, the departments that don't usually touch our compliance and our affordable. It's been a pleasure to be working and helping our team members throughout our company, who was mostly conventional, learn more why affordable is so important, and why you know we are going to continue to grow in different areas of affordable, so that we're not just looked at as the department that handles the people who can't afford our regular conventional. It's a bigger ask, but it's a bigger purpose than many even believe. So I'm working, to try to help our SOP processes look cleaner and more readable, and working with our updates that we continually have with processes and procedures at our site levels, and how to train and keep our team members prepared and ready to go for site audits and unit audits that we have, inspections, and uh, you know having regular cadences on how to make sure we're in alignment with those different needs that we have.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. Like, you've brought this up a lot, which I don't really get all the time, to be honest with you, especially when talking about specifically like delving into compliance and operations. But you've brought up cross department collaboration quite a bit, actually, in everything that you just explored. So it seems to be a pretty big focus for you. Why is that something that you focus on?
I think it sometimes, in my experience, I've noticed that you stay in your own bubble, and then you can get things done. But if you collaborate with more individuals, more minds, more views, you can really think outside of your regular bubble and box, and we don't do it enough. So allowing other opportunities for people to give you feedback that may not be comfortable is super important. Making sure that we're not closing doors or windows, or space that other creative and collaborative individuals or brilliant minds can just share their tweak on something, or their sprinkle their special sauce on something that you would have never thought of. And it doesn't have to be necessarily somebody who's had 20 years in experience in affordable. I think keeping an open mind with that is, while we talk to legal, while we talk to accounting, while we talk to conventional, while we talk to the the leasing agent, that a conventional property, or just even the maintenance, that we speak to about their perspective of how we could do things better. I think just keeping that open mind, because we're human at the end of the day, as much as AI is on the let's get going. It's already, ripping and running. We can't take out the human aspect of like, what is our humans thinking? We don't need to rely on the robot so much or AI so much and forget about who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said that. Like, what is the human thinking? So we're talking about like cross-department collaboration and how you're working with so many different groups of people um, and and how like being uncomfortable can be such a valuable tool. So you've actually said to me before that that site teams can get nervous, that you've seen site teams get nervous when corporate visits. So, and you've personally spent a lot of time supporting and training on site teams. So what have you learned from that experience, and what would you want to share with others about kind of that nervousness and what that means and what we can do about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting, place to be because I can say that I've been there when I had worked on site as a community director or even an area manager when you have an executive or an owner come on site and you feel the pressure, but you don't want to make any mistakes. You don't want to have anything that comes up that shouldn't come up, right? But reminding my teams that the opportunities that I've had to remind my team now, that we do have expectations, high expectations. We do have goals to meet and KPIs to meet. And uh, although those are there, we want to know how we can best still serve you as a part of our client, internal client, and stakeholder and partner, and to remind them each that we're all humans working together for a bigger goal. The titles may be there, but the more comfortable you feel just being yourself and sharing what's on your mind, our goal is to help you level up, to think a little bit more outside of your box, so you can feel more comfortable as you grow. And it's that growth mindset, just sharing with our teams, like when we're on site. It's okay to feel a little nervous because that shows that, you have that level of respect, which is good, but also know that you can be you and you can bring who you are, your special, piece that we have you hired here for, because you're hired for a reason. We believe in you. We trust you, and sharing that, that confidence back, building their confidence in who they are to be just who they are, and be hungry. I always teach my and share with my teams, be hungry, show your hunger, because that's what's really going to get you to that next level. If that's what you desire, you want to get to the next level, show your hunger, and that'll shine.
I think that probably the thing that you just said that resonated the most with me was about how like we're all here as humans trying to accomplish something regardless of title. And I think that collaborating together and like to your point, helping others like think outside of their box and the motivation that provides the teams is just really incredible. And you even said that it's something you're incredibly passionate about, which is like bringing that purpose to the teams, like sharing that purpose with them and making sure that they feel that. I think that's it's so valuable. It's honestly one of the reasons why I started a nonprofit at Elmington about 9 years ago. And the honestly, the biggest driver what really wasn't like personally to like do good in the world. It was that I wanted to give like the people in Elmington, the team who worked there, a sense of like purpose and culture and vision and something that was bigger than themselves, something that we could all be a part of. And so I can't tell you how much I agree with and support that thought process for you. Um, and you've put it really beautifully. Like you've said that you see, you want to help people see the work that they do, especially on site, as more than just clocking in and out. So, like, why is that? Why is creating that purpose and engagement for you so important for your teams?
Yeah, honestly, I think that having individuals who believe that you care, and are bought into them as an individual, brings out the best in them.
Yeah.
And not all relationships work. So not all situations we know are going to be forever, but when we have those separations that need to happen, they happen in a much more respectful and way
Yeah.
that's not like news to somebody, like, oh, this is surprising that I'm not going to, carry on my relationship with this and with this, company or whatnot. But it's a much more respectful way. But keeping a relationship, you can build somebody up in such a more positive way that it doesn't just affect their business, which is cool. It affects their home. Their home life can get better if they're respected and cared for at work, and they're valued. Their their friendships and relationships outside of work, and you're just building into an individual that I think that's what we're called to do. We're called to build into each other and care for each other and lift each other up when we need that. So I think that's what makes a better world.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully stated. You know, something that I want to talk about, because you brought it up just a second ago, and I'm very curious to know your thoughts on this. But in this AI driven world where like we still need the human input, so we don't want to let it all. I think what you said, like rely on rely on machines completely. We want the human element. But I'd love to talk about AI for a second. Like, how are you using it today, and what do you see the value of AI in affordable housing?
It's a great question. I think that there's been a lot of fear around AI in a lot of different aspects of, it's going to take over the world, is it going to take over everything we do and replace us in our jobs. Uh, well, I think that's an interesting way to think about it, and I'm not knocking anybody for thinking that way and getting nervous about it. I think we've been using it in a way that's helping us to be a little bit quicker at our jobs.
Mm.
Instead of it helps our pace, which is very helpful, in positive ways to get things done a little quicker and allow us to have time to do other important things as well. So while we're always being asked to do more, AI has been really a tool for us to make sure we get our things done timely and can allow space for what we need even individually personally. So I think AI and even in property management softwares that I've noticed, gives us a little tool within that software to see, hey, how do you find this document? How do you, interpret this report? How do you even forecast, what from the information that we've gathered through the past, and what some of the other industries may be saying together to position ourselves a lot better for success, and keeping our liabilities low. And also the AI has been helpful to like just give us another type of feedback to think about, to it gives you options instead of telling you what to do, which I
Mhm.
appreciate at this point. Hopefully we never get to a place where the AI is pretty much telling us this is what you have to do, but it's giving us the options of, hey, you know what, this is the risk
Mhm.
rate analogy of, you can fall into this, you can fall into that, but giving us opportunities for a bigger picture
Yeah.
than sometimes when our mind is thinking. We can't always collaborate with everybody, but that we're kind of collaborating with AI a little bit, to see a different perspective. Um, but right now, and that's kind of where we're at, is using AI to compare, contrast, all the information that's out there at the tip of our finger really quickly. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really well said. And we've talked a lot about like why you love affordable housing and kind of your focus and your purpose and your calling and like more of the technical components of things. But I want to ask you, because affordable housing isn't all sunshine and rainbows. What frustrates you the most about working in affordable housing?
There's a few things that I can say in my experience have frustrated me, and I think that while it's not a large number, some of there's individuals that live in our affordable housing that know they're taking advantage of the affordable housing, and there isn't really some things set up that I think that are strong to help the process of these individuals show that they're not the right fit. People are using some of our affordable housing in ways that it was never meant to be, and I say, like, that people just don't work, or they don't collect any type of income at all, and the government's paying for their entire housing in situations like that, and they're not um, being responsible a lot of times to get incomes and things of that nature. But there's other individuals who are using other avenues to transfer around to different places, and I think for us, we want to house people that are really needing that, and families and individuals that are in situations that without this type of affordable housing, they would be on the street. And I think the red tape that comes along with that, as well as of trying to navigate properly through some of these policies and procedures that have been set up either by the federal government or
Yeah.
our state, um, and also legally trying to make sure we're right in the right place in the legal aspect of not crossing boundaries that we can't cross.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're in another lawsuit, or we're in another situation where ownership
Yeah.
questions himself, why did I buy this property and even get into this in the first place?
Yeah.
We have them everywhere. They said that there's a bad apple everywhere, right? But I think we have to take that with a grain of salt and to understand the bigger aspect of those things, and continue to collaborate with individuals that are asking us, what other options do we have? Making sure we're staying in the right path, but not crossing these boundaries where sometimes the frustration will make you want to cross a boundary. You stay in your lane where you need to be, see sometimes the process through, give the opportunities, the options to residents or individuals. And sometimes you have to be really patient. I think it's never easy to be patient in affordable housing. It's never easy, but there's a lot of patience that's needed and involved with families or processes that I'll say AI doesn't always have patience. AI is very fast and quick. And if we're thinking of trying to think AI-ish or in an AI world, it's very quick. It doesn't have the human aspect of like, maybe we need to be patient right now to slow this up and to think, what's the real process? What do we need to think in a human aspect, as opposed to just getting a digital answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to end on that. Before we start to wrap things up, I do want to come back to that human component, because obviously, you keep coming back to it. That's one of your most important, it seems to me like one of your most important focuses of being in affordable housing. And so there's a question that I really want to ask you, because you brought this up specifically to me. And honestly, you started with this and we've touched on it throughout. But I think that, going from the question about what frustrates you and talking about how, the policies, the regulations, the opportunity to take advantage. But on the other side of it, which is the thing that you really wanted to talk about, which is you specifically wanted to discuss the families who rely on affordable housing. And so I just like to ask, we'll just start with a broad question around that. Why is that so important to you?
And I think families are the most important thing in our society. Like, family doesn't mean mom and dad and there are 2 kids, there are 3 kids only. A family really can be just a one individual who has friends, or just one person household, but a family is always in need of a roof over their head. In my I've personally had a challenge of homelessness for a short period of my time, and it's not a good place to be. I have people that I know who have struggled with homelessness, that you look at it and say, this is not the way that it should be for anybody. And I grew up in a home with a mother and a father and siblings, and I saw how powerful a home unit can be, and when you have the security of a roof over your head, and an opportunity for a meal, and a place to sleep, it brings the full circle of, this is why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to help each other. We're here to have a place to lay our head, and it brings that sense of security too, which I appreciate. Have seen over and over again families that know that they can close the door and lie down in bed, be in a safe environment, and out of the elements. It brings joy to my heart to see those individuals, call a place home.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's beautifully said, Chris. And I'm glad you had the opportunity to share. I want to end this with kind of the opposite of where we started, which is, I asked you to share how you got your start in the industry. I'm really curious to know, what impact do you hope to have in affordable housing? Like 10 years from now, you look back over the 10 years that you've spent from today forward. And what do you hope people say about what you've accomplished? Or what do you hope you say about what you've accomplished in that time?
I will say that I'm confident that the passion and the purpose won't die. From 10 years from now, I can really hope to say that, the individuals that I work with and the people that I've continued to collaborate with will see that same passion that I started with and that same desire and drive like spill out to other individuals, and for them to really feel like I'm not going to let this die. I'm not going to give up on it. I'm going to work through these challenges and these unknowns, and just bring it on. Like I'm okay with pressure. It just makes me better. And as we continue to like navigate through the changes that are on the horizon here, and are happening now, just, with confidence, being confident, and not forgetting about that caring for the individual part.
Yeah, I think that's so beautifully said. Well, Chris, honestly, this has been such a great conversation. It's been so fun learning from you and just feeling your passion for this industry and like what you're so excited about and how much you love doing what you do every day and giving back to the people around you and finding that purpose, creating purpose not only in the residents, making sure that they understand affordable housing and how it works best for them and how to use it when they need it, to your teams and making sure that they understand the value and the purpose in what they're doing every day, not just being there to collect a paycheck, to the cross-departmental collaboration and making sure that everyone at the company understands the value of affordable. It's been a really awesome conversation. But before we wrap things up completely, I do have 2 last questions that I like to ask everyone. So I'll start with, would you mind sharing with us a story from your time in multifamily?
I'll share a short story. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the prettiest story, but it was definitely a part of my experience. Is that I was working some years ago. I was working in a difficult place in Long Beach, California area, and the property that I was working at was known for some rough or challenging individuals who were in and out of there. And I remember the first time that I visited the property, it already had a shooting at the property. Bullets were outside in front of the property, and the police were there checking it out. I think it was on Mother's Day. And I was like, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
And fast forward, I was there and I ended up spending a number of years there. But the property, I worked with the police department on that property on a number of different things to help them clean up some of the things that they've been trying to for years. Over a couple of actual decades, they told me that they were working on from that particular site and area. And even through that process that I was there, the ownership changed because the owner that was currently had the property for a number of years was tired of dealing with all the riffraff. And the new owner put a lot of trust in me to work with the local enforcement to try to clean it up. And unfortunately, a situation happened there where somebody was murdered in front of the property that wasn't a resident, thankfully, but it was an interaction that had happened. And some young kids ended up shooting and murdering a guy who was coming there to sell them something. And they ended up getting caught later. But at that point, I had worked with the law enforcement that they caught the individuals involved. The person, unfortunately, had to pass away. But the property from then on, years later, they still talk about the management style that I had and who I brought on and who I what the presence that I brought to the property, caring for the property and the individuals, no matter what was there. And I think what brings joy to me is that, and through a tough experience, the bad choices of some individuals, but a tough experience that the property and the individuals and myself had to go through, the property is in so much better condition now as far as it was for many years. And it just took some grit to see through. I had a buddy that was telling me, you're going over to that property. This is known for horrible. Why are you going there? Why are you bringing your family there? I believe deep inside that's where it kind of comes back to that purpose in me. It says, well, I'm coming for a purpose. I'm coming for a reason. And I can tell you that people from that same property still look for me. They still say, hey, where's Chris? Like, we miss Chris. And it's gone through a couple of different managers through that property, but they're like, we really appreciated his bigger picture for us and the property and the ownership and all that. And that to me was a tough experience, but thankfully I had some grit through it.
Yeah.
And saw that through.
Yeah, well, such a great story. Thank you for sharing it. You're right. Definitely not like the prettiest story, but it's not called Multifamily Pretty. It's called Multifamily Grit. So, so I appreciate you sharing it. And I think that sort of energy really does require a commitment to the purpose and the cause for what we're doing. So I think it's very, very well said. And thank you for sharing. All right, Chris. Well, my last question. Is there a book that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Two things I'd like to share with them, and I kind of mentioned one of them when we were talking before. It's a book by Michael Landers called Culture Crossing. That book kind of helped me because my family is made up of a bunch of different cultures, and it really kind of made me aware more of just the different personalities and cultures that can make an absolutely beautiful rainbow of a family and a culture that you wouldn't have really dived into if you didn't ask the right questions and have the right respect for individuals and where they came from. And, just kind of thinking about like when you're in a room with different individuals with different backgrounds, what's not being said by this or that or the other, and how can you kind of let them share with you from what's deep down inside that nobody's talked about. Yeah. I think that kind of brought me to just a new place in my career because we have a ton of different cultures in our housing that I think people they do want to talk about. But how do you bring it up in the right way so that people can feel like you care about them? So yeah, Michael Landers, Culture Crossing, and then the smaller thing was just I have this Prayer Franklin Covey. There's a little toolbox full of wisdom that he has it with, some cards in here that I found super, super helpful, like 15 good better practices as an individual. Think we, not me is just one of them, and they're super powerful just to think about how we can level up in our individual self to help somebody else today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing both of those, Chris, neither of which I have heard of, actually. So unique shares, Culture Crossing sounds very interesting. So, well, thank you so much for not just that, but for honestly spending the past almost hour with us today and sharing a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. It's a wonderful story. It was great chatting with you, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate Kerri for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Multifamily Grit. We hope you enjoyed hearing Chris Clemons' inspiring perspective on leadership, collaboration, and keeping people at the heart of everything we do. His insights remind us that the best results come from working as one team, embracing innovation, and never losing sight of the families and communities we serve. We also want to give one more shout out to Fortress, our episode sponsor. Fortress is committed to revolutionizing affordable property management with smarter, more efficient solutions that keep communities thriving. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a colleague who would appreciate Chris's insights on teamwork, purpose-driven leadership, and using technology to create better outcomes across multifamily. Until next time, stay gritty, stay passionate, and we'll see you back here soon.